Good morning. We're still back, and this time around we're heading into the press preview, seeing what's making headlines into the print media. And of course, don't forget to check us out at channel 394 Go TV, channel 372, that's DSTV, and on our social media handles, of course, at Smart24 TV Twitter, Smart24 TV Facebook, and Smart24 TV Live on YouTube, and you'll be able to catch us at whatever part of the globe you will be at. And let's get straight into the press review. And with me here, I have quite a number of newspapers here, but I'm going to start with the New Vision as we see what's making headlines, most especially relating it to the business world. And with the New Vision here, I see over 33 districts pinned over 2 billion shillings of parish development model funds. Okay, as I read through the report, it says more than 2.16 billion Ugandan shillings parish development model funds disbursed to 33 districts. That's during the last financial year. Cannot be counted for, according to the report here with the press. Sources in the finance ministry revealed that an audit carried out indicated that the money sent, that's to the districts, yes, vanished in the hands of the staff. So you can see that's quite really very sad. Remember, the parish development model is one of the last mile strategy to ensure that Uganda transits from a subsistence economy to a money economy, whereby citizens' money is supposed to be allocated to the parishes and goes down to the individuals, the local households, to use that money for economic activities and, of course, generate revenue to develop the economy. But this money, according to the report here, vanished in the hands of the staff, while other funds were paid to ghost circles. Okay, the source, however, said a list of 33 districts shared was just a tip of the iceberg, and that more had misappropriated the funds. So you can see what's really transpiring right there. Quite sad for such funds that are meant for the growth and development of the country's economy being spent to other users which are not really relevant as per time right now. And now let's also, we see something here still in the New Vision, as you see the UNBS skills over 2,000 Busega market vendors. So interesting here. That's according an initiative by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. Over 2,000 vendors operating in the Busega market have been equipped with entrepreneurship skills to improve the way they handle their businesses. The Uganda National Bureau of Standards trained the traders in the value addition, accountancy, and communication skills as a way of keeping them relevant in the fast-changing business world. And of course, still according to the report, during the training, it dawned on the traders that one does not need a degree to make soap, briquettes, or tomato sauce. Yep, quite very interesting. These traders are being equipped with skills. This is going to enable them not only just to sell products that they have bought from other places cheaply and sell them probably expensively here, but also be in position to make their own products on the market, and this will be very essential to help them reduce on the costs of production. Okay, now as we continue still, during the training, okay, according to the statement here by the association, that's the person in charge leading this group in Busega, he said, "We have been trained to make briquettes at the Uganda National Bureau of Standards Incubation Center. The raw materials is the West in our midst." So you can see they have been made to believe, and also their eyes have been opened to the fact that actually they can use the West that is beside them of something as very instrumental to do something, a product, to put a product on the market. As I wind this up, according to the trainees, the training is aimed at improving the livelihoods of the vendors who are eager to develop new skills and, of course, adapt a saving culture. And now I'm done with the New Vision. Let me cross over to the Daily Monitor here. And I'm going to talk about the minister directs RDCs to monitor the parish development model. Of course, the Minister for Presidency, Ms. Mile Babalanda, has directed all resident district commissioners and their deputies to strictly monitor the implementation of the parish development model to ensure that the funds which are being put in place are allocated efficiently, to avoid them being paid to the ghost workers, like we've just seen in the previous print media, talking about districts, over 2 billion shillings which have disappeared in the staff, in the hands of the staff, and some of this money, according to the reports, it's being paid to ghost circles. So this is what the minister for the president's office is trying to emphasize, and of course cautioning the resident district commissioners to ensure that this money is allocated efficiently to avoid such incidences. The minister in September, that's in a September 16 press statement, also tasked the resident district commissioners to address quarterly sub-county meetings and brief all village chairpersons on the funds and the projects scheduled for the implementation in their perspective. Okay, and that's it for what's making headlines in the press. And now let's cross over to the international news and see what's making headlines across borders in the world of business. All right, and of course, start with Tanzania straight away, as this time around we are looking at the women in business, as Tanzania's Samia Suluhu rallies for the African Continental Free Trade Area to boost the women business traders. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu is rallying African policymakers for a continental protocol, specifically addressing the protection of women and harassment and other barriers to complement the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. President Suluhu, who is also a champion of this very initiative, says the continent must give priority to girls' education in addition to eliminating barriers that hinder women from cross-border trade. The Tanzanian leader was addressing gathering African women leaders, that's in Dar es Salaam, that was last Monday, where they drew up a roadmap for the African Continental Free Trade Area Protocol on women and youth in trade. Participants agreed that women and youth needed to be prioritized for opportunities under the African Continental Free Trade Area as key drivers of intra-Africa markets, and they tasked governments to enact better laws and policies to allow this to take effect. As I still continue the report, the protocol on women and youth in trade aims to increase women and youth engagement, of course, in cross-border business, particularly small and intermediate enterprises in sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing of textiles, tourism services, informal trade, and professional services. The protocol is one of the several under the African Continental Free Trade Area, that will be based on regulatory cooperations between member states using their own domestic laws and institutions rather than make a blanket harmonization. Other protocols of similar nature are on trade in services, investment, competition, and the protection of intellectual property rights and digital trade. The African Union Commission Deputy Chair, that's Monique, urged governments and central banks, commercial lenders, women and youth networks and donors to subscribe to the African Union's Women and Youth Financial and Economic Inclusion Initiative that seeks to provide up to $100 billion for financing to at least 10 million African women and youth entrepreneurs by the end of 2030. Okay, that's it regarding Tanzania, and this time around championing the African Continental Free Trade Area. Remember, almost about 90% of the African nations have already ratified, have already put the instruments of ratification that's regarding the African Continental Free Trade Area. And recently, the country that is not yet still in the process of ratifying, that's the country of Somalia, to ensure that the trade begins effect. Uganda already, of course, issued its instrument of ratification, showing that it's okay, it's playing allegiance with the African nations to ensure that this is executed. And now, let's head to the African emergency response, as the United Nations provides 100 million to aid people in forgotten emergencies. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs is releasing $100 million from the Central Emergency Response Fund to assist millions of people in what it calls forgotten emergencies. Reports, the agency reports money for 11 humanitarian operations in Africa, Asia, the Americas, and the Middle East has dried up, putting the lives and the livelihoods of millions of people at risk. The United Nations says it needs about $49.5 billion this year to assist about 204 million people threatened by conflict, conflict, climate shocks, hunger, and forced displacement. To date, only 17.6 billion of this total amount has been received. While this is a large amount of money, according to the agency deputy spokesperson Jens Lake said the funding gap is nearly $32 billion. That's the largest it has ever been. He said the release of $100 million is meant to shrink this critical fund gap and address the problem head on. Lake said that the consequences for hundreds of millions of vulnerable people will be many and severe if money to assist them at this time of the greatest need is not forthcoming. Of course, in a statement, he said that can range from loss of life to victims or survivors of gender-based violence who receive no support. That's according to the statement. Children who do not get the vaccines that they need, and so on and so forth. Still, on this particular report, Lex said $100 million will help scale up life-saving operations in the 11 countries, which include Yemen, South Sudan, Myanmar, and Venezuela. As I wind up this, he noted that the CERF has allocated a record of $250 million so far this year to countries that are desperate, that are in a desperate state, but largely overlooked. Of course, that's regarding the United Nations Emergency Response Fund going into what we call, of course, the forgotten emergencies, and all the liable victims that's in Asia, Africa, Americas, Middle East, and so many others will be benefiting from this particular fund. And now let's wind up the international business news as we head to Nigeria. And this time around, Nigeria moves to attract foreign investment in the economy. Nigeria, in collaboration with the Africa Business That's Roundtable, will this week hold the second edition of the Nigeria International Economic Partnership Forum, a global economic investment platform in New York, the United States of America, and of course so many other countries. The forum, according to a release issued Sunday by President spokesperson, that's Malam Garba Shehu, is part of the federal government's move to open up the country further to international and capital economies to attract direct foreign investment. The high-level event is scheduled for Thursday, September 22nd of September 2022, on the sidelines of the 77th United Nations General Assembly taking place in the American city. Held alongside the annual global gathering, is expected to draw the presence of world leaders in politics, economy, media, as well as civil society organizations and international media to focus on the vast economic potentials of Nigeria and Africa's leading economy. Most significantly, President Muhammadu Buhari will deliver the keynote address of the event and will also host a high-level presidential session that's with fellow presidents and heads of delegations on issues that need joint action for African countries on the development drive, such as the post-COVID-19 recovery and financing priorities, Africa's investment, climate and market, as well as the de-risking, of course, the continent. This will bring together top Nigerian government functionaries as well as renowned and highly respected global public and private sector players, rubbing minds on Nigeria's economic outlook, focusing on Nigeria in the global economy and international partnership for Nigeria and the development drive. In a view of the wide spectrum, of course, there will be cluster thematic sessions on that's growing Nigeria's agriculture for food security and access to export market with special focus on impact of the Russia-Ukraine war, which presents opportunities for the G7 and the G20, of course, Nigeria partnerships in agriculture. 2, scaling up international resources for financing education in Africa with emphasis on making facilities to link the government, deal sponsors and international pools of capital in education. And lastly, Nigeria's oil and gas sector reforms, results, and the road focusing on scaling up the investment into the gas market, plants, packs, cylinders, and reinjection. And of course, that's regarding the objectives for Nigeria to attract the foreign investment. Those have been the major directives regarding that. And of course, remember, it's also intended to recover the nation from the COVID-19 effects, which still date the nation's economy is still facing lately. And that's it for the international news and business. And now let's cross over to the business words and tips. But firstly, let's review the business tip of the day. Well, the business quote of the day, of course, it says here, I normally love starting with the person that wrote the mind behind the quote. That's Helen Keller, American author, the political activist and lecturer. Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience and trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened. Ambition that's inspired and success is also achieved. Wow, very interesting. So many times we really want to see a change into our lives, and probably there is something we desire to change about something, but this is not something that happens in hiding. As you're trying to hide, probably you have to face the world. You have to know what it really takes. For example, you'll never know what it means to make $1 billion if you don't know how to lose money, which is what it may not be exactly $1 billion, but at least if you don't know what it means to make a loss of some good amount of money. So these are just of the great lessons in life that are going to help you build your character, nurture you, and they're going to prepare you for the world, because it's a dynamic place. Things are never straightforward. Of course, there are quite hiccups, ups and downs, but these are purposed largely to build your character, and they can nurture you into that person that you're supposed to be. And at the end of the day, this is going to be very influential to your character as a person. Not only you as a person, but also when your character is nurtured, you're going to impact the society regarding that. So understand that character is not built in quiet place. It's not built in hiding, but rather experience will be very key in nurturing that. And now let's wind this up with the business tip of the day. Boost the online presence of your business. No matter how successful your business is offline, its online presence will determine the future success. Having a website not only improves your visibility, but also improves your conversion rate. In addition, it establishes your business as a reliable brand. Very, very interesting. And of course, the COVID-19 pandemic was a great teacher regarding this aspect of online presence. And the majority of the people, we used to be so comfortable with our own shops, probably sit down with your merchandise right there. But the COVID-19 pandemic exposed us to the ability that everything was shut down from shops, transportation, and of course that there was less transaction of goods and services, and one of the only ways, of course, you had to make it through was to ensure that you have an online presence. And this is still very important since we are talking about a regional integration of the East African community. We are talking about the African Continental Free Trade Area. So you can see how important it is to be online. Of course, you're not going to have to travel physically to South Africa or going to Kenya or Rwanda, Tanzania, or whatever part which is within the East African region or within the African region at large, physically to take your products for people to see. Definitely, you need an online presence where people are going to be able to access and make orders for you to take them and deliver them to their respective premises. And also remember, there is a certain attachment. When we were reading that quote, that particular quote, we saw the aspect of having a website. A majority of the people that we live in society currently today when they see your presence, if you have a website, they're going to take you serious. They're going to take your brand serious because definitely it's going to create a psychological impact into their mind that actually your business has already made it. Probably you're selling to international clients, and that's what people want to hear. And at the end of the day, they're going to come and support you because that builds confidence. It will build confidence into your brand simply because you possess an online presence. And that's it for now. Let's get into a short commercial break. We shall be returning with the Coffee Court. Stick around. Good morning.